call this meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to all. We have the agenda before us. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions to the agenda?
I would just note the law director's on the dispute prior to approved absence.
Okay, so noted. Anything else? The agenda will stand. So the first thing we have is the fiscal officer's report.
Thank you.
Mr. Wolf.
Fiscal Officer number 1 is a resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in an amount of $107,662.41.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the investment report.
Anything notable, Tom?
Still low interest rates, but they should start creeping up.
Okay. Any other questions, see Tom? Okay, number 5.
Fiscal Officer number 5 is a resolution to accept a TARM insurance renewal rates for Plain Township property casualty and vehicle insurance package. And there's 3 options for an increase. It looks like the 10 million would be the best value for all of our new assets, and
I'll move on to fiscal officer number 5 with the liability limit coverage of $10 million, which represents a $3 million increase because we're at 7 right now.
I'll second for discussion. So, yeah, I mean, we're starting to accumulate some other things as well, so I think that's probably a good move. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a resolution to authorize the following transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a liquor license for Market Quick Stop LLC doing business as Market Quick Stop located at 2904 Market Avenue North, Canton, Ohio 44714.
Any issues, Captain?
No.
I think consensus is we'll move forward on that.
Okay, great. Fiscal Officer number 8 is a resolution to authorize a refund as follows for overpayment of EMS as requested by Ohio Building.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 9 is a liquor license request for TLIKNC LLC doing business as Misano's Little Italian Kitchen located at 7831 Cleveland Avenue Northwest, North Canton, Ohio 44720.
So moved. No, we don't.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Anything there?
No.
I think we'll move forward on that one.
Okay. That concludes the Fiscal Officer report.
Thanks, Tom. That takes us to the administrator. Lisa.
Thank you. I have a resolution to authorize payment to Wood and Bricks for the materials and installation of 3 gateways as according to our mini master plan.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. That's the end of the administrator report.
Thanks, that takes us to the fire department, Chief Schallenberg.
Thank you. Item number one is just informational. We received a grant from HRSA Provider Relief Fund, which is kind of a subdivision of Medicare, I guess you call it. So it's about $22,000, so it can use for funds to help with expenses from COVID or other related things.
Nice.
Nice work.
Okay, next.
Item number two is a change order resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to classical construction not to exceed $8,627.15 to be taken from Fund 4907-760720.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. This is the first change order, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, which, that's pretty good so far.
We're just trying to keep them together there,
Yeah.
so.
It's, they're making progress. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, item three is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payment to Stryker Medical for maintenance contract for 2 power load systems not to exceed $10,000.80.
So moved.
Second, it's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number four is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize payments to Turnouts LLC for a maintenance contract for advanced gear cleaning and inspection of our turnout gear not to exceed $5,580 per year.
So moved.
For second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes fire department.
Thanks, Chuck. That takes us to road, JP.
Thank you. Road item number one is to list the bids for the 2022-2023 road materials for the following companies.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
All right. Road number two, be it hereby the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to award the 2022-2023 road material contracts for the following.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay. Road number three is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the execution of the contracts for the 2022-2023 road material bids.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion.
I just like, I know you said the timeline that they're looking at, but anything we can do just to put.
Yeah, push it.
Yeah, we're
The more,
hoping,
the more it's like, I get they've got existing projects, but
yeah, yeah.
we're getting in on the front end, we've sort of gotten spoiled to a degree,
Yeah.
but the later pushes, you know, mid-late year, we're not gonna be a city of Canton
No,
where they're trying to pave in the winter, so.
yeah, we're hopeful. They did say they had some carryover work, and we've talked to some of the other contractors. They're busy as well, so we're hopeful we can get, last year we were right around the 1st of June, so
Yeah.
we're hopeful we can
Well,
follow
they
on.
got started early.
Yep,
last
the
year.
earlier
And
the
year
better.
before.
Yeah, the year before was even earlier.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, road number four is be it hereby Plain Township Trustees, Plain Township, Ohio, to direct the Plain Township Highway Superintendent to place an advertisement for bids for the purchase of a heavy-duty combination sewer and vacuum truck in the newspaper published in Stark County on the general circulation in the township on April 28th and May 5th, 2022, with the bids to be received on the day of May 12th, 2022 by 12:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion.
This is gonna end up being those art funds, right?
Yes. And this is all based on federal procurement guidelines, so it's a necessity. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Road number five is be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize OHM advisors to make application on behalf of Plain Township to the OPWC to assist in the funding of the Oregon Street Storm Sewer Outlet Project.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. And road number 6 is just kind of a 2021-2022 winter total. Kind of gave some figures on what we used for this year, how many overtime hours, how many events, how much salt we used. The third page there is the salt totals, and kind of what our 10-year average is. So, under the 10-year average, and we used less than 2021, believe it or not.
That's amazing with all
Yeah.
Yeah.
the events. And I think it's nice to see a year-end report like this. Puts it in
You
perspective.
think the beach juice helps? In
Yes.
combination with
Oh,
that?
100%, yeah.
I
That and
do
the
too.
brine, yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Do we have any more coming from the county?
Yeah, we're gonna order about another 700 tons. We have to make a couple small repairs to our second salt bin.
Okay.
So we'll have it in by
And
May.
then that'll be it for our accumulation.
Oh, yeah, we'll be way
Okay.
over. Yeah, we ordered 1,800 so far.
Is that based on last year's agreement or the new agreement?
This is for the 2-year for last year.
Yeah,
It
okay.
ends in this year. So,
Yeah, because I knew we still had some to get.
yeah,
And
we're,
I think we were waiting for a spot to put it.
yeah, yep. And a couple repairs.
Yeah.
That concludes road.
All right, thanks, JP.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to zoning.
Thank you, sir. Item number 1 is a resolution to set a date for a hearing to discuss adding short-term rental tax to the zoning resolution. The hearing will take place at the trustee meeting, on Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 at 6:15 p.m.
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that's all for the
Thanks, Tom. Nothing from Parks, nothing from the law director, nothing on communications. That takes us to the portion of the meeting of public speaks. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board at this time, please feel free. You can come forward if you want, you can stay where you are, but just for the record, give your name and your address to our fiscal officer, and then you can speak from wherever you wish. You don't even have to stand.
Rocio Strohmeyer, that's R-O-C-I-O, Strohmeyer. 2504 Clarendon Avenue Northwest.
Thank you.
We're having a problem with the trucks going to the Hall of Fame. They're speeding down our street, they shouldn't be on our street, on Clarendon. And, we were without telephone for 4 days because they don't have phone service. So it's really been terrible. They just speed, these big trucks come down Clarendon, and they should be going broad to 17th Street and not down Clarendon.
Tracy Rohr.
It's okay if she wants to sit down. I don't know if her standing is, are you okay standing there, or would you rather go sit down? Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
Tracy Rohr, 2514 Clarendon Avenue. Not only is it the construction vehicles, it's regular vehicles. Since they've closed the 3 streets, Barb, Blake, and all but 1 block of Clearview, everyone's coming straight down Clarendon. It's like we live on Whipple or Fulton anymore. And even the regular cars are speeding. The speed limit is 25 and they're going 40, 50 miles per hour, even the school buses. The construction vehicles are dump trucks, huge dump trucks. They are semi-trailers carrying stuff. They snapped my cable, my AT&T cable line for the 2nd time in 6 months. And the 1 cable for Spectrum's still hanging over at the fire station. And we're just looking to have these vehicles ticketed, stopped, something to be done.
Well, I'm gonna take first
Yeah.
poke at this. One, I know JP, you've shared there's some water
There's
The city's
water
got
line.
water so some of that is absolutely permitted through there. As far as from a residential, any residential traffic, anybody that meets the speed limit and the weight capacity is legally permitted to use those roads.
Even
You
though
do-
there's signs that say they have to use Broad, they have to come down
What
Broad
I'm,
and go
what I'm
17.
saying is, if I decide to drive through there in my pickup truck or whatever, as long as I meet weight limits and speed limits, there's nothing legally that the township nor the sheriff is gonna be able to do about that. I've addressed some other issues on truck traffic over there because of, it was dust complaints, what did we, week and a half, 2 weeks ago?
Right about where we.
And honestly, the village is doing, you know, I've been outspoken critic in the past of it, but they've actually done an exceptional job at keeping the roads relatively clean over there, because our project inspector is going over on a regular basis, you know, to document as far as the truck traffic that falls, you know, for the village. I mean, we've inquired before, and you were just with the tail end of last week, even a conversation with them. We sent people over there to watch. The reality is, I mean, most of them are good actors, but I'm certain it's not a majority of them. So, you know, our challenge at the township is, all that, as you all know, was township property, and it was annexed into the city.
Except our homes.
I
Our understanding
know,
was right
but-
until
correct.
if they bought our properties, then we were annexed,
So, but
we're still
everything
paying.
that's been annexed into the city, whether it's construction noise, it's dust, it's whatever, we really don't have repercussions, because like, I know when I talk to JP about even, say, dust and material, there's not much we can do. So I know Stark Soil and Water has been out there a couple occasions, and they actually show up unannounced. So it can't be one of those, hey, let's get the site all cleaned up and, you know, taken care of. So, you know, as far as, again, going back to the normal truck traffic that's hitting in on job sites, yeah, 17th and Broad is what we had agreed to up front. But for us just to sit our officers out there all day to ticket, we could certainly find some targeted times. But when you take a look at the entire mix of the township, we have a responsibility and obligation to the entire township residents on a priority basis, whether it's breaking and entering, accidents and so forth. I'm gonna tell you, and Captain Carver, you keep me honest here. Just sit in the car there's not the highest priority call. It'll get put on the list, but when incidences are coming in, if it's a breaking and entering, burglary, you know, some type of domestic violence situation, our guys are going to that every day of the week, first and foremost. Now, when there's potentially downtime between calls and they're not filling reports, yeah, to sit, I mean, we've certainly had throughout the township, whether it's speed issues or whatever, folks say, hey, you can come sit in our driveway. You know, what we can do outside of what the sheriff enforces is, you know, I'd be happy, you know, through JP, we can get the speed trailers out there. I mean, that's honestly, it's only a short-term deterrent, but I will tell you what it does. There's a lot of times, I'm not saying there's not speeding, because there's speeding in everywhere, and typically it's the folks that live within a mile proximity that are the worst violators of it. It'll produce charts that'll show total traffic volume during times of the day and what percentage are outliers. And typically it's a pretty small percentage on the overall of who's actually in excess. I know where it would seem greater, certainly with the narrower roads over there, you get two vehicles coming through and passing, and especially if you get, say in an instance, a large, you know, class B type dump truck through there, then that certainly makes it, you know, a little more nerve-wracking. But, yeah, we can set speed trailers out there, and then we can provide a report copy to you guys, so you can see exactly what it is we get, because we provide that to the sheriff's office as well to help with targeting the patrols. The challenge is a lot of the times that the speed issues, they're morning or evening, and I can tell you that same time, we've got those complaints on Marquardt and Firestone and Middle Branch and East, so, you know, trying to be everywhere and rotating through is a challenge, but it's certainly something. I mean, Ryan, I hate to put you on the spot, but is there anything else from the sheriff's perspective that
No,
you guys may have? Or?
Certainly, we'll send that out to our folks that have some extra speed enforcement over there. I know we have, decent visibility over in that neighborhood with having the substation at the fire station. Deputies work on reports and stuff. They're in there pretty regularly. And just as far as the trucks in the neighborhood, we do have a commercial enforcement deputy that has portable scales in his vehicle. We've had him over there spot checking some of these trucks and weighing them. Aside from them being overweight, there's nothing we can do to them driving on any of the roads over there. There's the agreement to try to use a certain route, but as far as Ohio Revised Code and what we can cite for, that's not something we can cite for. We can't cite them for driving on Clarendon as long as they're within their proper weights and operating a safe vehicle and all that. We can't stop them from driving on Clarendon. We can issue citations certainly if they're speeding and things like that, but that's not something that we can enforce. That's an agreement in place between the entities, and they can try to address that with each other, but it's not an issue for us so much.
Well, in mentioning the substation, because there's usually deputies sitting over there in cars, but they're sitting at the back end by the garage doors for the fire trucks, so they're not seeing all the traffic or paying attention to the trucks and the traffic. Or if they were sitting in the front and watching it go down Clairton, they're always in the back end.
Yeah, and just, I guess from a side perspective, when they're usually over there, it usually means they're working on reports and catching up paperwork, and they're a little bit intentionally sitting further back in somewhat of a kind of a safe area where there's some level of protection behind them and they can see what's going on while they're focusing on paperwork, as opposed to kind of hanging out at the end of the driveway. And I'm not sure if that makes sense to you, what
I went up to that substation and complained about the speeding. What they told me was, I have to catch them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So that's what we're saying. I don't know how they could miss them except because they're sitting in the back, how they could miss the trucks or the cars.
That's where he's saying, at that time, there's high probability that they're doing finishing up from a call. And given the state of society and how law enforcement's been treated from a safety protocol, that's.
Somebody walking out
And
there.
and I can understand what you're saying, and we'll certainly push that out to our guys, that we need to spend some of that downtime over there focusing on enforcement. And, not just go there as your time to catch up on reports and paperwork, but we need some enforcement over there and monitoring speed. And like they said, if we get the speed trailer out over, that'll help give us a guide of, times of days where the speed is more of an issue than others. It helps us to target our resources a little better.
There was a sheriff deputy this morning sitting word across from her house. No trucks went by.
Yeah.
Because I watched,
Yeah.
I was looking out the window, there was, all the time that he was sitting there, no trucks went by, no one was speeding.
Yeah, the stuff never happens right in front of us. It's,
But did you want to?
JP, you want to elaborate a little bit on what we've done with the construction companies that you've made contact with?
Yeah, just to kind of follow up with you, ma'am, and Tracy, we've spoken, it was on Good Friday. After our conversation, I reached out to Turner Company, our contractor, who kind of heads all that. And they want a good working relationship, not only with the township, but the residents around. So when I voiced our concerns, he said that he would revisit it with his staff, but they have been, trying to follow the approved route. But like he said, when you get that many vehicles in, working on that big of a job site, you're gonna get 2 or 3 that try to, save 3 minutes by not going down 17. But, I told them that we would like them to use the approved route, and, they wanna work with us, so they don't want any issues, they just wanna, clean the streets and, follow the approved route. So, but he said, when you have that many people, it's hard to get everybody on the same page, so.
Right, and I had a few neighbors that suggested even speed bumps, a stop sign down at Woodward, like a 3-way stop, because of the way the cars are flying through.
Well, there's legal things, you can't just put stop signs are not a speed control device.
safety liability issue. If that would, get hit by a plow and, hit a kid that's shoveling the driveway or someone else, I mean, you gotta always look at that aspect of it too. So,
Unfortunately, it's a frustrating
yeah.
circular,
Mike Adams at 2135 Clarendon. In my opinion, all the speeding is happening because it's going to the high school. So our road was never, the road to go to the high school. So how can you guys stop that?
The short is, again, that traffic can flow through there all day long,
I know,
every
Scott,
day,
but
as long
how can you
as it
stop
meets the
it?
speed limit.
I don't care about speed limit. How can we stop all that traffic?
It's
You
like we
can't.
said. we were on
They have the right to use those roads, those are the public's roads, they're not necessarily.
Where does our
just
township
your
end on that
roads.
road?
I'm sorry?
Where does our township end?
17.
Oh, yeah, it's way at the other end. Yeah. Yeah, it's at the property that basically comes right off the school property.
Can we split that road up and make a dead end in the middle of it? So people on the other side of Plain can go around?
We can't arbitrarily dead end any streets without going through an official process. And we ourselves
we do
don't
that?
have
Commissioner.
a final opinion.
Okay.
That has to go to the Stark County Commissioners, even if we wanted to.
Yeah,
And I can tell you, they're not very anxious to make any streets dead end. That's what's called vacating a street,
yeah.
and they almost never approve those.
I just feel like we got hung out to dry out there. Everything went to the city and we're just left out there with all the traffic. It's just, I don't know, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I get the
I
I
know it
get the whole thing
doesn't-
about going there, but I
Yeah.
think we should come up with a solution.
The problem is that there's no practical or available solutions to it. I mean, to monitor and control
I mean, so the
speed.
speed bumps, okay, you say it costs money, we gotta start somewhere. So you
But
say,
I'm also
you
saying
gotta
it's
start.
it's a money and a liability, and I'll tell you,
And-
but I'll tell you right now, I would never vote for it. It's not a practical solution.
Yeah, it generates liability issues as well. And then, of course, they're gonna have to be removed at
Yeah, no
close to
worries.
every winter, because,
exactly.
so you're taking them down and you're putting them back up, so kind of defeats the purpose between the 1st of November till, unfortunately now, maybe the 1st of May. I hate to say that, because
So
I got my fingers crossed.
I don't know what
it
the terminology is, but not a through street, what does that mean? So if we had signs up saying it's not a cut through to the high school, or not a through street, what does that mean? Could we limit that
That would
traffic?
only be suggestive.
Okay,
There's nothing these guys could do to enforce anything,
Right,
because there's
probable
no law
cause.
in the Ohio Revised
Right.
Code that says any legislative authority can create a resolution to stop people from using this street.
right,
And unfortunately, and I know it's no consolation, but I can sympathize with you, because I happen to live on a street, Spangler, that Spangler runs parallel to 62, and if you've been
Yeah.
through 62,
yeah,
that's one lane going either way. Guess where all those cars and dump trucks that come from the city of Canton, and all the people that cut through from about 6 o'clock in the morning until about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then about 3 o'clock in the afternoon till about 6 o'clock in the afternoon. They're all up and down Spangler. So I understand and I get it.
Yep.
And I've even had neighbors come to me and say the exact same things that you're saying. Hey, what can we do to keep these people off of our street?
right.
And you're gonna hear the same answer.
The frustrating part is.
And it's frustrating.
It's just the high school, that's, to me,
Yeah.
that's the root of the whole problem.
Right,
The construction's gonna end at some point,
Yeah.
but it's the high school. And it's not even in the city, it's not in our township, so I could care less about it.
And once they closed off all the other streets, that's
Yeah.
what created it all. Like I said, it's like we're Fulton Road or Whipple Road with the traffic anymore. We put up with a lot from the Hall of Fame.
What about putting signs up, on Broad, more than usual, high school, to the high school, McKinley High School, go here, on Fulton, McKinley High School, go here. I know everybody's got Google Maps, it probably takes them right down Clarendon, I guess. But, you know, maybe try and just redirect the traffic.
Who put up the larger signs that are on a couple of those side streets? Was that the, okay.
Yeah, because before they put them up, we were getting a heavy traffic volume. We called them, and then, like I said, they've been great with us
Yeah.
to work with, because we had some visibility issues with those signs blocking, you know, traffic when they turned out onto Broad, and they moved those right away. And then those signs weren't up on Clarendon. We called Turner, and they had them up within an hour or two. So, just revisiting that they want to work with the residents, but they can only do so much.
No, I mean,
They're in charge
like I
of
said,
it.
to me, it's temporary,
Yeah,
the construction part of it, but.
we could certainly look into the
I
sign.
can assure you, there's been nobody more vocal and who's taken more heat than I have over the Hall of Fame Village project, because we've had folks in the community, we've had folks that have run for office before going, well, we need to collaborate with them. Well, until you're in the ring knowing what all the variables are, it's easy to talk about it. Doing is a whole nother thing, and, you know, I'm not gonna get into woe is me, but, you know, I essentially get blackballed for being a black sheep. Look, we got this great community asset that, you know, they don't wanna partner with. Well, guess what? My responsibility at the end of the day isn't to the city of Canton, it's not the North Canton, it's Plain Township within the code and statute that Columbus essentially allows us to operate under, with the exception of what local home rule we have, and home rule is really more from a zoning aspect, so I would say, you know, to the Hall of Fame itself, not the Hall of Fame Village, because all these legal entities have it so murky over it. The Hall of Fame over there has actually been pretty good helping us on that. Their vice president of operations has been highly responsive, but sometimes it's an exercise of futility here where
Like I said, to me, it's just the high school traffic, that's the problem.
I think there's some things we can do. We'll continue to monitor. You'll kind of keep an eye on that traffic. As you were speaking, Sergeant Koenig was taking notes like crazy, okay? So I knew he was already thinking in terms of, he's gonna be making sure there's some extra patrols over there, he'll be paying attention, you know, all of that kind of stuff, 'cause, I mean, he's back there writing like crazy, so I knew what he was doing, he wasn't ignoring you, believe me. So we can do that, speed buggies, and I have a couple other ideas when it comes to the school. I don't wanna talk about them here, but I think we might maybe send a letter to the school and just say, hey, just so you know, there is a possibility here that this is being used, we're gonna have the streets monitored, you might find your students getting a lot of tickets written for, maybe they should be coming in from another place. You know, as courteous as we can be, you know, to maybe do that, but yet, it might get that attention a little bit. So I think we could reach out to them as well.
Thank you.
Sure. Oh, sorry, wait, he was standing up, he was ready to go next.
Go after the young fellow.
Oh. Now that's being gracious, yeah. So, yeah, you wanna go first now, he's being gracious.
My name is Victor Paglioza. You're gonna run out of ink when you try to spell that. Anyway, I live, 2205 Clarendon Northwest, right across the street from the construction people. On the Duplass side, I will say this, the construction gentlemen's people that work over there, we don't hear a peep across the street. They're very respectful, they do their job, they don't bother anybody, you wouldn't even know they're there. My concern is this, along with the rest of the neighbors, that the speed issue is an issue, okay? Residential speed. However, you got Canton City school buses that come out of Kinley. You got plain local school buses that are picking up kids. In fact, they pick up the gentleman's children right in front of the street. The buses, okay, if not, they go faster than the residential people. And I can see from my house in Woodward, right there, if the kid comes around the corner, he's gonna get it. Somebody's gonna really seriously get hurt. because they know they can't go that way towards Woodward. And his kids and everybody else's children that are on that block. I guess the whole thing is, if we don't watch something for there, someone's gonna get, it's not gonna be a pretty sight. Honestly. And then the construction guys too, they have a habit. I wouldn't say everybody does it. When they turn the corner, or when they're coming around, they don't actually stop. They just around the corner. I almost got clipped coming off Woodward to on Clarendon, simply because I didn't see the guy, he was just gone. So those are kind of things that, to us as neighbors, us that we've had children, my kids are all grown, gone. Family behind me, still got children. Those are the things that concern me, and I'm sure everybody else here. The speed is one thing. The safety, bingo, that is what I'm looking at. As long as somebody doesn't get hurt. A car, a child, riding a bike. I mean, I know that area is kind of like diminished from the kids. You know, I've been there 49 years. I've seen a lot of kids on that street, okay? But there's still people up the street that do have children. And Kansas City schools and Plain Township bus, I work for Plain Township, the schools. Those bus drivers should not be going 50 mile an hour down the road to go nowhere. To go to the light and stop. So, basically my concern is a safety issue, which probably will get resolved. If these people are saying, let the speed somehow, let them know that, hey, you can't do this on this road. So having said that, I don't have anything else to say about that, other than, to me, that's gotta be addressed to either Plain Local Bus Garage, Township Administration, Kansas City Schools, their buses, go on. So if I had little kids, and I don't, okay, I did, both the girls were raised and go on. If they would go across the street, they guarantee that somebody's gonna get it, especially it coming around Woodward. Because the fence, the construction fence that comes around there is out a little farther than one can see coming out, pulling out of Woodward. If some kid come around there with a bike, he's not gonna see the guy coming down the hill, either direction.
I'll see you this weekend.
I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying?
My son is, my 6-year-old is, yeah, the bus goes really fast where we are, and my kid is actually, I see all the kids going like this because they go
Yeah.
so fast.
Nothing to say some kid can't walk out in front of a bus, that's,
Exactly.
you know, I see human nature, it's gonna happen sooner or later.
Yeah.
But the bus drivers need to be addressed to this, they need to be addressed, that it is a safety issue for the neighborhood, and basically for the kids. And I'm not walking to school anymore, I'm not gonna walk in my car.
Yeah.
But I'm basically saying that, you know, it is an issue with children, and anybody else that walking the street.
I think the letter speed part is.
Yeah, pretty tight.
Kansas City schools, plain local schools.
Yep.
And a carbon copy to the mayor's
Oh, yeah.
office over there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Harvey Tuck, 2125 Clarendon Avenue. All my good neighbors here. My daughter Zoe Tuck and Zaria Tuck. So quite naturally, we want to make sure you guys know that we appreciate all that you're going to do. So the big trucks, there was a huge truck that came through right prior to school getting out. But you're right, because they did some work on 21st and Clarendon, so they shut that down a little bit, which is why the traffic was really redirected. At the end there, if we have a sign there approaching when you turn off of Fulton onto Clarendon. It's the ugliest sign in the world. I have a picture of it if you want to see it. If we can't take it, can we at least remove the sign? If they're not gonna, if we can't stop them from going down the street, why do we even have, it's an eyesore. So if we can't take them and we can't keep them from going up and down the street, a weight limit or whatever's going on, I mean, get rid of the sign as far as I'm concerned. My other concern is, my daughters play basketball, so in my driveway, I have a basketball, and trust me, I instruct them daily, when that ball goes anywhere close to the street, don't even think about it. And then I have to get and go walk all the way down past Mr. Vick's house down by Woodward to retrieve a ball, because I can't allow my girls to go on that street and the speed, Dr. Sargent. Hopefully you can help us out with that, because it has gotten ridiculous. I'm not talking 40 and 50 miles an hour, like literally from the top of that hill down to Woodward and up to 21st. And a lot of times they run that stop sign on 21st now that it's blocked off over here. So again, we just don't want anything, like Mr. Vick said, to be the reason it's too late. And quite naturally, man, Scott, I'll feel for you, Dr. Halls, but again, we're just residents, everybody's got a situation and an issue, but I'm off at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I see it all day, every day. I wouldn't go out there and put a speed bump out there myself.
What you're bringing forward, it's just,
Put me out.
I mean, our hands are somewhat
Right,
tied, and as John was alluding to earlier, you know, hey, we can send a letter going, we're gonna look to do this, we're gonna look to do that.
which is what I was gonna
And
say,
it's sort of when we do
just warning is enough.
It's similar when we do zoning letters to something that's not quite truly a nuisance, it's more of a good neighbor, bad neighbor situation. We'll send a letter out, and most folks will tend to positively respond to it because they don't want it, but there's still the minority or small percentage that they thumb their nose and they like, you know, pretty much tell us we can go pound salt, and it's too bad. And I mean, just to build upon, I mean, I certainly take seriously security, not just, at 16, I was a hit and run victim. Ironically, it was the day I got my temporary driving permit. And I was over at the neighbor's farm, and I took the mountain bike, and I come home, you know, I remember making my turn signal, next thing you know, I'm in the, so, I mean, for a security, that still resonates, because, I mean, outside of an incident happening, unfortunately, it's not uncommon for people in those situations to freak out and then potentially flee, not that they don't get caught, but, you know, I know in my situation, never did find the guy who did it, so.
Anything else? Anyone else? Now, girls, if you need any credit for any school things that, you know, you came to a meeting, we'd be more than happy to give you credit for that. Thanks for coming.
off, maybe me, Rachel.
Yes. Well, I don't have that much pull. Yeah.
By resolution,
Yeah.
we used to draft something up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and, I gave GPS the numbers for both bus garages because
Well,
he'll
bus
call.
49, I'll give you that.
Bus 49.
Bus 49.
Is that the plane or the bus?
337.
Bus 49.
Headed towards Fulton every single day.
330.
I will give you that.
The time.
49 and 337?
Well, 40, no, that time
Oh, the time.
is 337.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a Kansas City or a plane bus?
Not for sure either.
Okay,
It's probably a
That's
plane, it's
plane.
probably a plane.
okay.
'Cause
Theirs
then
generally don't speed because they actually stop at my driveway. Now,
Yeah.
when they leave, I don't know what they do after they leave.
So I'm gonna have JP, a phone call will get there faster than the letter I'll draft, I will draft a letter. And then in the meantime, Captain Carver, I do have some additional, you know, we need to do any additional, have somebody on, I do have some funding for that. If we really wanna target, you know, before and after school and whenever else, I could pay through the contract for some overtime for that too.
And we're happy with warnings. We are really happy with warnings. That's less paperwork, less manpower.
It's
But
not
if
really
they
that
got a warning, it's generally the same people. And you're right, most of those people are residents.
Sergeant
Probably
Cohen's a
for high
pro, he
school
can write a
kids
ticket
on
in 5
matching
minutes.
or don't care about rules.
Yeah. Well, warnings though don't travel as fast as tickets.
When you get hit the pot. right?
Yeah.
I've had
Oh, yeah.
couple tickets.
Teenagers, they have it report to mom and dad.
Okay, anything else? Okay, that takes us to the approval of the April 12th meeting, and I will move to approve those minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes. And we do not have a need for an executive session, so I will make a motion to adjourn at 6:45 p.m.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.